Welcome to your lecture in Grammar and Sentence Skills. Solid grammar and punctuation skills are essential in today's world. There is not a single aspect of your professional or personal life that won't benefit from understanding how to properly format sentences, paragraphs, and essays. Writing is the tool we use to communicate with the rest of the world, so you've made the right choice by enrolling in this course. Are you ready to get started? Let's begin. We'll start out slowly and move our way up to some more complicated material in this course, which is why we're going to begin by covering the sentence basics. Every sentence you write must have a subject and a verb. Here are some important definitions you'll want to memorize. The subject is who or what a sentence speaks about, usually a noun or pronoun that acts, is acted upon, or is described. Let's consider some examples. If I said to you, "My t-shirt is hideous," the subject would be my t-shirt, because that is what the sentence is about. Similarly, if I were to say to you, "Fleas are disgusting," the subject of the sentence would be fleas, because fleas are the main idea of the sentence. Now let's move on to verbs. The verb is what the sentence says about the subject, a word that shows what a subject does or that helps describe the subject by linking it to an adjective. An important tip to remember about verbs is that verbs are almost always action words, meaning they show that an action has taken place. Cried, jumped, ran, and swam are all examples of action words. The subject lets you know what the sentence is about, and the verb tells you what is being done to the subject. Here's an example. Jennifer's hair glistens like the sun. Let's take a minute and think about what we just learned. Based on the information above, what do you think the subject of this sentence is? Let's pause for a minute. Your textbook states that to find a subject, ask yourself who or what the sentence is about. In the example above, who is the sentence about? The answer is Jennifer. You could also ask yourself what the sentence is about, and that answer would be Jennifer's hair. So we now have the subject of the sentence, Jennifer's hair. But how do we find the verb? To find the verb, your textbook states that you should ask yourself what the sentence says about the subject. So let's go back to the example. Jennifer's hair glistens like the sun. We already know that the subject of this sentence is Jennifer's hair. So let's ask ourselves, what does this sentence say about Jennifer's hair? The answer would be, it glistens. So glisten is the verb. Let's look at it one more time just to make sure we understand. Jennifer's hair glistens like the sun. The subject of the sentence is Jennifer's hair, and the verb is glistens. Now we're going to move on and talk about fragments. A fragment is a word group that lacks a subject or a verb and/or one that does not express a complete thought. There are many different ways that a fragment can occur. Here are a few examples. 1. Dependent word fragments. 2. Ing and to fragments. 3. Added detail fragments. 4. Missing subject fragments. Before you try to define these types of fragments yourself, let's begin by tackling a few. Here's an example of a dependent word fragment. Because we went to the mall. Do you see how the above sentence is missing something? It looks like information has been left out, and that's mainly due to the word because. The word because is a dependent word, which means it cannot introduce a complete thought or stand alone. More information needs to be added to make this a complete thought, like this. Because we went to the mall, we were grounded by our parents. In the example above, the sentence is no longer a fragment because more information has been added to it. We now understand what happened as a result of going to the mall. Before, we didn't know what happened because the person decided to go to the mall. Your textbook states that in most cases you can repair a dependent word argument by attaching it to the sentence that comes before or after it. So it would also have been okay to write, we spent our entire savings because we went to the mall. Let's move on to added detail fragments. Added detail fragments happen when a sentence does not have a subject and a verb. Here's an example. I want to go shopping today. especially because there's a sale at the mall. I want to make sure I get a good deal. Do you see how in the example above we are missing important information in the second sentence? Especially because there is a sale at the mall. This is the perfect example of an added detail fragment. The second sentence is using information from the first sentence, which is, I want to go shopping today, to relay its point. But the sentence does not actually state the subject or the verb, so it's considered a fragment. There are a few quick ways to repair this type of fragment. They are, 1. Attach the fragment to the complete thought that precedes it. 2. Add a subject and a verb to the fragment to make it a complete sentence. 3. Insert the fragment within the preceding sentence. So we could fix the above example a number of ways. 1. I want to go shopping today, especially because there's a sale at the mall. 2. I want to go shopping today. I want to buy a lot of clothes, especially because there is a sale at the mall. I want to make sure I get a good deal. 3. I want to go shopping today. I want to make sure I get a good deal, especially because there is a sale at the mall. Do you see how we were able to repair the fragment 3 different ways? Pretty interesting stuff, isn't it? It's nice to have options. Now it's time to learn about run-on sentences. According to your textbook, run-on sentences are 2 complete thoughts that are run together with no adequate sign given to mark the break between them. Here are a few examples of run-on sentences. Janie ate a salad. It had a bunch of tomatoes on it, but I'm not sure what kind. Aaron did his math homework. All his pencils started to break, so he had to use a pencil sharpener. Do you see how in the examples above, it kind of sounds like someone took a giant breath of air and said everything really fast? The sentences above are called fused sentences, which means they are fused or joined together as if they were only one thought. If we want to repair these sentences, we need to insert some sort of punctuation to make them flow better, like this. Janie ate a salad. It had a bunch of tomatoes in it, but I'm not sure what kind. Aaron did his math homework. All of his pencils started to break, so he had to use a pencil sharpener. Let's go over a few more examples of run-on sentences. Trust me, you will encounter run-on sentences on a daily, if not hourly basis in your everyday life alone. Take a look at this example. Nobody is in the office today. Where the heck did they go? There must be a flu going around. I'm so tired because I didn't sleep much last night. The examples above need more than just a simple comma to make sense. Here's how we would go about making these sentences better. Nobody is in the office today. Where the heck did they go? There must be a flu going around. I am so tired. I think it's because I didn't sleep last night. Here are a few things to do to repair run-on sentences. 1. Use a period and a capital letter to break the 2 complete thoughts into separate sentences. 2. Use a comma and a joining word to connect the 2 complete thoughts. 3. Use a semicolon to connect the 2 complete thoughts. Comma splices are another type of run-on sentence. We'll explore them more in the next slide. Comma splices occur when a comma is incorrectly used to connect 2 complete thoughts. Here are a few examples. Mr. Reynolds is the most boring teacher alive. I really wish it were closer to lunch. In the example above, 2 complete thoughts have been incorrectly joined. Both Mr. Reynolds is the most boring teacher alive and I really wish it were closer to lunch are 2 completely different statements. Instead of a comma, both sentences should be separated by a period. Here's an example. Mr. Reynolds is the most boring teacher alive. I really wish it were closer to lunch. Let's try one more example. Mark and Abby have been holding hands all day. I wonder if Abby has noticed how badly he stinks. In the example above, both statements are complete on their own, so they don't need a comma. Take a look at this. Mark and Abby have been holding hands all day. I wonder if Abby has noticed how badly he stinks. Do you see the difference? Watch out for comma splices. They can be really tricky. Now it's time to talk about some words that are easy to misuse. Have you ever noticed that there are many words in English that don't seem to make much sense because they sound similar? If so, you're not alone. Homonyms are words that are often confused because they sound the same but have different meanings. Here are a few examples of homonyms. Break, break. Some, win. Do you see how these words sound the same but have very different meanings? When writing, it's important that you use the correct word. Can you spot the errors in the example below? My whole weekend was spent trying to hear my neighbors talking to each other. In the sentence above, the words whole and here are incorrect. If you're typing on Microsoft Word, improper word forms are underlined by spell check to show you that they are not the right fit. But Microsoft Word won't catch them all, so you'll need to. Spend some time reviewing confusing words in your textbook, and always use programs like Microsoft Word to help you catch homonym errors when you're typing.